What the hell? This isn't a slow reverb song.
Yeah, so if you're subscribed to this because you like slowed down music, this isn't gonna be the video for you, but stick around, please. But here's the man we want to talk about, Fred Hollows. So I got a chance to read Fred Hollows' biography, autobiography. I go to university in Orange, New South Wales, and I went to a book fair, so that's where I got dirt music. And this I also got for $2. So this is the best $2 I've ever spent. Who is Fred Hollows? Fred Hollows is one of the most iconic doctors ever to live in Australia. Fred Hollows is known for curing trachoma in a lot of Indigenous populations in Australia. There's a large disparity in Australia. There's a large disparity in Australia with Indigenous health and the rest of the population. So Fred Hollows was a big part in closing the gap, which is still an initiative that's taken up today and probably isn't talked about enough. I really wanted to read this book after reading a doctor by the name of Dr. Ruit. Dr. Ruit is a Nepalese surgeon who cured a lot of people in Nepal from cataracts, and he was mentored by Fred Hollows. So he's just been an inspiration to so many people. He cures the blind, which is like incredible. I mean, you don't realize how important sight is until it's gone. Especially in third world countries, a lot of people live in agricultural areas where if you're a man, you need to do a lot of practical work, which you can't do if you're blind. And if you're a woman, you can't do, it sucks for anyone. Particularly if you're in a third world country where you don't get a lot of the medicine that first world countries do. What takes place? So what is Fred Hollows' life story? So he's actually born in New Zealand, so he's a Kiwi. That's really annoying. I just wanted him to be Australian, you know. Why does he have to be Kiwi? Why do all the best Australians happen to be Kiwi? It's just really annoying. We just need to take over New Zealand. I'm saying it now. Yeah, so he studied in New Zealand. He got a medical degree in New Zealand, and then he went to England to do his specialty in the eyes, in ophthalmology, and he learned apparently under the Professor Cochrane. Now, you may not know who Professor Cochrane is, but Professor Cochrane is known for having the website Cochrane Library, which is like the highest database of scientific research like you can find, and that's incredible. That's named after him. He was like a big, massive mover of medical research, and to have him put in a good word for Fred Hollows is just incredible. Like, I'm a dental student, and to see Professor Cochrane, like, to read about him talking about Fred Hollows is like incredible. That's how you know Fred Hollows is a big deal. Yeah, so he went to Wales, and then after he went to Wales, he came back to Australia because, little fact, Fred Hollows was a communist. So they didn't like the fact that he was communist and he was political, and Fred Hollows was like, yeah, well, Australia will take me. So we were very fortunate to get Fred Hollows. Yeah, and he started a initiative that started off in Redfern called the Trachoma Project, and so that was his initiative to reduce the amount of trachoma in Indigenous populations all around Australia. And he shows like a map where all across Australia he's been just like working on removing trachoma in all these Indigenous communities. It is amazing what he was able to do. I will point out here that his book, it feels very rushed. Like, he says, then I went to Wales, and then I went to Australia, and then I went to Nepal. It's like, why are you doing these things? Like, I don't think he really flushes out his motivations for doing these things. Like, it's obvious that he wants to help people, but they're just such, like, for me to go to a third world country to practice eye surgery there is just such a big commitment. And the fact that it doesn't, like, I wish we could see more into his insight. However, at the time of when this book was written, 1993, I think that was the same year that he died from kidney cancer. I'm pretty sure it's evident that this is kind of a last minute autobiography by Fred Hollows. He hasn't had the time to really flush out the book, and I think at the end he kind of gets to talk more about his motivations and how he's really driven to end the gap between the first and the third world. But yeah, after he finishes his Trachoma project, which is pretty huge, then Fred Hollows talks about all the other countries he's gone to. So he's went to Nepal, and so that's where he would help doctors like Dr. Ruit in establishing hospitals and things like cataracts disease. Yeah, cataracts disease is massive in Nepal, and thanks to people like Dr. Root and Dr. Fred Hollows, they were just able to establish like what's called a lens factory, so they can make the lenses for $10. That's why you see in charities, or donate to Fred Hollows $10 to repair somebody's eye surgery, because that's all it takes. Once they've established the factory to produce the lens that will then be replaced into their eyes. I really like how Fred Hollows in his book doesn't go too much into detail about how the science works behind the eyes. I think he explains it in enough superficial details so anybody can pick it up and understand. I appreciate that a lot. I know I could probably interpret it a lot more, but I just think that it's really annoying when people go way into detail over things that I have just no idea about. That's a very common feature in biographies, in autobiographies in particular. So he went to Nepal. He also went to Vietnam, where a lot of the landmines are still left over. Like Vietnam back then, it even still is today, still a developing country, but Vietnam back then was such a war-torn country, and the fact that Fred Hollows was able to get in there and cure a bunch of people of eyesight. There's one kid who became an eye doctor because of Fred Hollows in Vietnam, one of the boys that he cured of trachoma or cataracts. It's quite amazing the amount of influence this guy's had. And then, surprisingly enough, he went to Eritrea, which is like a country that blocks off Ethiopia from the coast, which is, pretty inconvenient country. In Eritrea, he sets up a eye lens factory there as well, and it's like, dude, he's done so many programs in rural Australia, in Nepal, in Eritrea, in New Zealand, in Wales, he also went to Mexico. I think he went to study this group in Mexico who had particular sets of eyes. It's crazy all the places Fred Hollows has gone. It's interesting to think that he's a communist. They won't tell you that. It's interesting at the end of the book, I don't know where this came from because my parents can't remember it, but he was criticised for being homophobic when he talked about AIDS research. So at the time, it was just very a lot like this. What the thing going on at the moment. I think AIDS. There was a time where people didn't really know how it worked, and I think Fred Hollows was trying to voice how it did work and try and disclude misinformation, but again he would come across as homophobic. I don't really know much detail about it, but maybe you do. I definitely recommend reading Fred Hollows' autobiography. I think he's one of the most influential doctors ever in Australia. I think every medical student should read his book, or at least know about him, because of the altruistic characteristic that he has. I think is just so underrated. He should be put on the $5 note, absolutely. It's interesting, I used to always think that Fred Hollows is just kind of like a regular person, and he's definitely got that Australian attitude, and that's something I really appreciate. You would expect somebody who's so altruistic to kind of be a saint, or like somebody who thinks they're better than everybody else, but he really isn't. Alright, that's kind of like my book review over, and now I'm just going to talk about what this channel is about. Essentially, for those of you who've been watching my slow to reverb music, essentially I had exams a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't do daily uploads, so I've just been slowing down songs that I like listening to and then putting them to YouTube, and so I'll listen to them while I study, and they've been doing pretty well. One of them's got 250 views, so keep listening, guys. I know I used One Punch Man as the filler for the visual. Look, that's the only anime I've watched, so I'm gonna be honest, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah, but if you like that, comment if you want to see more slow reverb songs. They're very easy to make, and I like how it keeps that daily routine going. But then again, it does make it harder to motivate myself to make longer videos like this when I haven't. Obviously, making longer videos like this takes a bit more, even though these are pretty easy to make. Once I'm on break, for semester break, I'd like to make way better produced videos than at the moment, but dentistry is #1 priority at the moment, and so this is just kind of like a hobby. But yeah, stick around, because seriously, if you're watching this and you have any suggestion at all for me to what stuff you like from this channel, then I'll probably continue more of that. Anyway, I'm gonna review 1984 soon because I think that book is awesome. I just read that, and now, so you should subscribe. Subscribe. Subscribe.